Hey, we want to welcome everybody to You in the Law podcast show. We're streaming live on Facebook Live. We want to thank you for tuning in for another episode of the podcast show. If this is your first time tuning in, join us. We want to thank you for taking the time to come on and listen to the Chiefs talk about topics that involves the minority community. So I am one of the co-hosts of the show, Virgil Green, and I don't know. What are you, Chief Swag? Are you the host, the co-host? What are you today?
I'm your friend, Virgil.
You're my friend.
I'm your soul friend, Virgil.
Yeah, you got that right. You got that right.
The only friend that you have, Virgil. That's who I am, man.
Well, you know what, man? I am glad to know that I am your friend.
And guess what, Virgil?
What's that?
One more day.
One more day.
34 years.
Man, are you excited about it? You know, are you're like, hey, let me go ahead and do another 4 or 5 more years.
Not happening. You know what, man? It's surreal. It's bittersweet. Let me tell you something, man. I've been fortunate, man. The community here in the city of Little Rock is amazing. Man, just the things that they've had to show how much they appreciate me. It's been amazing. And you could tell that it's heartfelt. And, you know, that's the bitter part about leaving. You know, when you've been somewhere for, you know, a while, you gain those relationships. And, you know, that's the difficult part of it. But at some point, you know when it's time. And so 24 years is time.
Yeah.
And it's time for me to move on to the next chapter in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. So
yeah.
One more day.
So Keith, for those who may not have heard last week, week before last podcast, let everybody know what's going on with you and what the last day means for you tomorrow.
So after 34 years of law enforcement experience, I am retiring effective tomorrow, May 20th. So my last call will be tomorrow. The new chapter is consulting and teaching and whatever else God sees fit for me to do. But it's definitely not going to be in a law enforcement uniform. It'll be working in law enforcement, working as a consultant and an advisor and mentoring others. But as far as me being a law enforcement officer, I don't see that.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, how long you been a police chief in Little Rock?
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
been here 3 years.
Okay.
So it's been amazing. It's been rough time here, but we as law enforcement, we don't do well in change.
Yeah.
So, and this has been probably one of the most difficult places to get change, to make change, but that's okay. We were able to do some really good things here, and I was able to promote some amazing people. As a matter of fact, today, went to the promotion of 10 individuals today. A very, very diverse group of supervisors being promoted.
Okay.
So that's one thing I can say. We have made the department, especially in the supervisor ranks, more diverse, and I think a better place.
Good. Well, I definitely want to say congratulations, man. We met back in 2011, became brothers. Back then, you were like that big brother.
Don't do it. Don't overdo it. Just go do it, man. Thank you, bro. You're my man, man. You one of one of my dearest friends, man. We have you and I have we've been threatened together and
Yes, sir. Yeah.
asked together, and we've both grown,
Yeah.
in our careers, professionally and personally. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you, bro.
Definitely. Thank you. Well, Keith, tonight we're going to get into the topic of an unfortunate incident that took place this past week in Buffalo, New York, where, we definitely want to send our thoughts and prayers to those families who lost loved ones and those who were injured, and just the after effects of the the trauma that people are going to be dealing with for the rest of their lives in that community. And so, uh, we're going to be talking about how the replacement theory is fueling white domestic terrorism. And Keith, the incident that took place in Buffalo, so much similarities to what took place in South Carolina at the church uh, some years ago, where another white young male, 21 years old, walked into a Wednesday evening service and shot and killed and injured those who were in the church worshiping. And he actually sat down, and people were welcomed him into the church. And next thing they know, they became victims of a domestic terrorism act. And so, hopefully, a lot of those who will watch or join us will join in on the conversation about what, if anything, can be done to prevent these things from happening, Keith.
I put a post out the other day as a police chief, and my biggest question was, why is there such an infatuation with guns in this country? And
Yeah.
why is that infatuation also entertained by law enforcement?
Hmm.
Not just the weapons that we train with and that we carry on a daily basis, but even in the law enforcement world that you and I are in, there is this strong love for high capacity magazines, fully automatic weapons. Um, we talk about the Second Amendment, and there's in the law enforcement profession, uh, you have people that actually, I've seen officers actually almost go to blows having the discussion about the Second Amendment, and those that are for being able to purchase any weapon, any magazine capacity, and those who are saying, I get the Second Amendment, but those weapons aren't necessary. Until we start with the reform of our gun laws, where there's a database when you have someone and it appears that they knew that this young man had some form of mental illness. There was something going on there.
Yeah.
And, did the police do all they could do? Did they not do enough? I don't know. Don't know enough about that.
Yeah.
But we know that there was some form of an encounter with law enforcement a year prior to that may have even prevented him, or could have, or should have prevented him from being able to purchase weapons.
Yeah.
The other thing is, you can't tell me that the family didn't recognize something. Why was, not question why these guns were being purchased? What were you thinking? We went to the school around graduation time. You're talking about murder, suicide, man. What's going on?
Yeah.
So I think they're complicit, the parents.
Well, you got to remember, Keith, the father actually purchased the son a handgun.
And so that's another thing. Why is it that is a sign of manhood for a man to purchase, one of the first signs of manhood for a man to purchase his son or his daughter, first sign of manhood or womanhood, to purchase their children a rifle or a handgun to mark their manhood or to mark their womanhood, because it's their Second Amendment right to have guns. Now, you tell me where in the Second Amendment it talks about you have the right to have or the need to have a high capacity magazine or the need to have a fully automatic weapon. When I was in a meeting and there was I was in a meeting with a group of my peers throughout the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody kept beating around the bush. Well, you know me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen, why y'all beating around the bush? I'm going to ask the question.
Yeah.
What is the law in law enforcement and in the private sector? What is the love for fully automatic weapons? What's the love for guns? I'm a gun owner. You know, not only do I have guns that I purchased, that I had to carry, but I have a few guns. And notice I said few.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't go to gun shows. I don't do all that. Because they all do the same thing. You know, you either buy them for protection or sporting. You know, protection, sporting, or the intention to do something. So there's three reasons I believe that you purchase a gun. But anyway, to get off that, and so, you know, this one guy said, "Man, you ever shot one? It's just fun. It's fun being able to shoot a fully automatic weapon. But what's the purpose? It's just fun. It's just fun."
Yeah.
But that's all they can tell you. And then people will revert back. But the domestic terrorism, man, is nothing new in this country. Domestic terrorism has been happening for hundreds of years, and especially when it comes to African Americans, it's been happening. When you go back to the start of slavery, you go back to the during slave times, during the Civil War, during civil rights. So domestic terrorism is not anything new as it relates to the African American community. The African American community being targeted for hundreds of years, centuries.
Yeah.
The thing about this is you got people who represent us that refuse to talk about the main problem. And the problem is accessibility to weapons by individuals who have a diagnosed major mental illness. But I'm going to say this. This dude was it's a hate crime. This dude plotted and planned, and it's sort of like you and I plan for a vacation, you know, and you said, we're going to go here, we're going to go here, we're going to do this. This dude is a well planned execution that he carried out.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You don't need to sugarcoat it or whatever. Yeah, under the terms of domestic terrorism, under the terms of mass shootings, yes, but it was a downright hate crime.
Yeah, it was definitely planned.
And this won't be the last one.
No, it won't.
Unfortunately, it won't be the last one.
Yeah.
And so,
well, Keith, and just remember, you know, we've had so many of these mass shootings. What was the last mass shooting?
There's been 190 plus so far this year.
So it wasn't just a couple of months ago where how old was this kid? 15, 16 years old, who took a gun to school and shot several of his classmates, and his parents end up buying the weapon. And then and so once again, here's a father who went and purchased a handgun for his son, who was 15 years old, for his birthday.
Right.
So, and I guess my question, a part of this conversation is, that was a very high profile mass shooting. Everybody should remember that, but so many of them happen, people forget. How do you not think about these parents who bought their 15-year-old son or 16-year-old son a handgun? He goes to school, kills all of these, these students. They go on the run from law enforcement. They're later apprehended. what parent, what father in his right mind would say, maybe it's not the right time to go buy him this handgun?
Well,
And, and
it comes down to it's not gonna happen to my kid. My
yeah,
kid's not gonna do anything like that.
yeah, yeah,
And so hey, that happened. That happened. That's somebody else's child. That can't happen to me.
yeah. That's not going to happen to mine. Yeah,
It's not gonna happen to mine.
yeah. Well, hey Keith, Sam asked the question. He says, "What about the Brady Bill? Even Ronald Reagan opposed ordinary citizens owning military weapons." So he wants to know what happened to the Brady Bill.
Brady Bill is still very active.
Yeah,
The Brady Bill is the what we have where there's the waiting period and
yeah,
some other stipulations. It's still just not strong enough. As you know, it's supposed to be a waiting period of I want to say I'm going to say 3 to 7 days. I might be wrong, but then there are those individuals that don't have to go through that waiting period. I mean, I've purchased a gun before. I've seen people who aren't police officers purchase a gun. They go in, they present their information, and within a matter of minutes, they're approved. I've seen individuals that that go in, do the same thing, and they have to go through a waiting period. So, it's there, but there's always loopholes in that law, like there are with other laws. The problem is not the people who buy the guns. It's not there's a lot of good people out here that purchase guns for, like I said, sporting and protection. Um, Normally, with the exception of these mass shootings that we're seeing, normally these type of weapons that are used in any type of violent crime are normally stolen and in various different ways. But the Brady Bill is what we have. I kind of worry if we didn't have that in place, but it's not strong enough.
yeah.
The Brady Bill is not strong enough, and it went into place after Reagan's, I believe, secretary, one of his cabinet members,
Was
um,
shot.
was shot.
Yeah, doing assassination attempt on his life. Yeah,
Reagan, and so that's where that came from, and so it's there. There's some really good points of it, but there's still some loopholes in it
yeah,
because you want a gun, you can get a gun. And I was telling someone that 47% of the vehicle burglaries we had at the beginning of the year here in the city of Little Rock, 47% of the burglaries, a gun was stolen. Of the vehicle burglaries, gun was stolen.
because
So,
yeah,
because now everybody has access, especially with constitutional carry, which means you don't have to have if you're not a convicted felon, there are other crimes you can't be convicted of, you can carry a gun. You don't have to go through a concealed handgun license class.
yeah.
So everybody has a gun now. But you can't tell me that this boy's parents and others who knew him did not see the warning signs. There had to be something.
Well, Keith, and
Some page manifesto of how he
yeah,
was going to do it and how he hated people. And, the bottom line is that, the minorities, blacks are taking the places of whites. And you get in this mind, how does someone get that much hate in their mind? I mean, how do you get to the point where you just watch this stuff and you really believe that conspiracy theory that your race is being uh, purposely eliminated, and you're going to do whatever you can do to send a message so that your race, your ethnic group, will survive. So that how do you get to that point, Virgil? How do you get to that much hate and that much believe in conspiracy theories that strongly?
well, and Keith, and I think this kind of goes back to, unfortunately, the rhetoric that has taken place over, say, the last 4 or 5 years, where you've got a former president who almost pretty much, uh, I don't want to say put his blessing on it, but he kind of said, "Oh, I condemn it," but he really didn't. And just with this incident, this mass shooting in Buffalo Key, he was at a rally in Austin, Texas, just a couple of days ago, where he was asked, he made some comments about it. And he said, yeah, there was some people killed. It was bad. But then he goes off and makes a comment, Keith, about in Afghanistan, during some period in Afghanistan, uh, no soldiers lost their lives. So this man never said anything, any comforting words to the victims, to the families that were impacted by this here horrible uh, mass shooting. And so then when you see people like that who say, well, I'm going to follow this former president's message.
But why is there a but, Virgil? Let me ask you this. That's a tragic situation. Yeah, 10 people lose their lives. Okay. Yeah, 10 people killed. Now let's talk about the collateral damage involved in that.
Yeah.
So why is there a but? Why is the fact of it? Why is there a but? Why is there such a thing of, yeah, but we're not gonna let them take our guns away from us. We're not gonna lose our Second Amendment right. Why is there always a but? Why is there not? Let's see what we can do. Let's work together. Why is there always a conspiracy theory that this is not as bad as it really is? This is the way the left, wants to make people think that this is a violent country. Well, wait a minute. Now, the left is not the May was screaming that this is a violent country. What the left has said is that there's some actions by those who are governed to protect, have committed acts of violence toward people. But that is the right is, and I'm staying neutral because I have no problems with person being Democrat, person being Republican, no person being moderate. I get to the point of when it becomes extreme to the point it doesn't make any sense. When it comes to the point of that the left is using these incidents to get their point of taking guns away, man, that's BS, man. At the end of the day, both sides should be talking about how do we strengthen gun laws? How do we prevent things like that from occurring? How is it in 2022 that you have an 18-year-old that can go out and actively search and actively be on a website? At what point, Virgil, does a person's life mean more than someone's First Amendment rights? And what I mean by that is, I'm a big First Amendment proponent. I'm a big Second Amendment proponent. But what I'm talking about, everything is you're violating a person's First Amendment right.
Yeah.
But these are the individuals that are going on. These are the individuals that are listening to individuals that are spewing hate. But it's okay to do that because it's their First Amendment right. It's okay to call people be insensitive about a person's race, ethnicity, or their gender. It's okay to do that. It's okay to incite. That's okay. Okay, it's okay to do that. Why is that okay? When it comes to violence, it's not okay to yell fire in a crowded theater.
No, it's
not.
Why
are we having this debate? Why are we having this debate that it's this man's rights to look at an extreme violent and racist platform, which he is claiming that he has been brainwashed, but it's okay for those type of platforms to exist, which causes or which how do I say it, which contributes to a person's ability to go out here and gives them an excuse.
Giving them an excuse to do what they're doing.
To execute 10 black people. Now, we're not talking about that this man went in to take the lives of anybody.
No, he was targeted.
Specifically targeted African American men and women. Yeah. And let's don't forget that if he hadn't have been stopped, he was going to shoot up the city. He was going to just go down the street and
just start
randomly shoot people.
Yeah.
But it all comes back down to the social media platform that he has been watching. And it's okay. It's okay for people to say things like, why is it okay to say replacement theory is facts? But when you talk about critical race theory, why is that bad?
Yeah.
Okay. Name one person that has talked about critical race theory that has gone out and committed a mass homicide. Just name them. But critical race theory to some is so horrible. We want to keep it out of schools. We want to keep it this. They pass state laws to prohibit it from being taught.
Yeah.
But nobody has used critical race theory in a manner of violence. But you got someone this replacement theory that started on Fox News.
Well, and that was going to be my question. Where did this replacement theory come from?
Well, Tucker Carlson started it. I'm not going to say Tucker Carlson started it, but he inflated it.
He inflamed it. Yeah.
I'm not going to say he's the one. I'm not going to say he's the one that wrote it and it's got the trademark on it, but he did incite people. And so all you have to say, QAnon, replacement theory, all of this stuff, you start saying that stuff and you're talking about, and then you start thinking about, you had an African-American president. Now you got an African-American female vice president, people in power. Oh my God. Or if you have someone, with Buttigieg is LGBTQ. Oh my God. Now you've got Blacks and you've got members of the LGBTQ community. And my God, have you seen Biden's cabinet? It's got this person. Oh my God, they're taking over. And so when you hear this all day, I have people that work in all they do is watch Fox News all day.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I don't have a problem with a person watching the news, man.
Yeah.
But I can tell you right now, I watch local news. I watch CNN, MSNBC. I watch all that. I'm not to the point that that's all. I have people who work for me, who did work for me. That's all they watch, and they get this inflated. Man, you ought to hear some of the conspiracy theories that police officers have. Man, we work with guys that didn't think anything was wrong with the January 6th.
January 6th. Yeah.
So we're in a nation that we thrive off of incitement and conspiracy theories, and you have people who aren't very strong, who cannot form their own opinion, or who cannot, who are not big enough to stand on their own 2 feet or be their own man or woman, that they need something to help them show that that their existence is needed. This is tragic. It's racist, xenophobic. It's hunting. It's putting minorities.
Well, Keith, you said a key word, honey.
It was hunting. That's exactly what he did. And what's hunting? The purpose of when you go fishing, what do you go fishing for? You go fishing to catch a fish, which is going to die, right? When you go hunting, your purpose is to kill something.
Yeah.
You're not going hunting to wound something. Your purpose is to kill something. This man in his manifesto specifically said he was going hunting African Americans.
Yeah.
And people don't want to talk about that. But let's, I'm at that point in my life. I refuse to be quiet about racially insensitive, racially motivated, extreme racism, supremacy stuff. I refuse to allow that type of behavior to occur without me saying anything. And Sam says a good point. It is not news. Fox is not news. Um, the replacement theory, Sam, it goes back to the fact that a a race who believes themselves to be superior are being replaced by other ethnic groups. So, case in point, this gentleman believes that the white race is being wiped out by African Americans and Hispanics. So it goes back to Germany and Hitler's theories regarding the Jews, that we got to do something before they, in quotes, overtake us and make us insignificant. So that's what it is, replacement there. We're being replaced. So it would be just like somebody saying, if I'm a gasoline vehicle, I need to be worried because the electric vehicles are replacing me, which means I'm going to be invalid. I'm not going to be important anymore.
Yeah.
So
just
Sam,
I
hope I explained that. That's what it simply is without going to all the details and stuff. So that's exactly what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Keith, it's just like people in this replacement theory about, robots replacing human beings in the workforce. So, it's a replacement of humans. And now you've got white supremacists, individuals and groups who are saying because the country is looking more browner than it has ever been, and more brown people are serving in politics, and they've got more of a role in government, that now that the white race is being replaced. Well, nobody is being replaced. What you're seeing is just actually more people of color getting more opportunities to serve in important roles that they should have served in decades ago. So, but Keith, just going back to what took place in Buffalo, the fact that this kid has been on social media, there is definitely a lot of information that he has left behind. And so you got to ask yourself, why, even though they had contacted him and he was sent for a mental evaluation, and I'm going to ask, a friend of mine who's in mental health, she said something this morning about why do we always, whenever there's a mass shooting, Keith, why do we always bring up that it's related to mental health? Because now it's given a person a reason for doing what they did, and they're suffering from some kind of mental health. When you go out to seek and murder and you plan to kill people, that ain't got nothing to do with mental health. That just got something to do with you just a pure evil person that has hatred against white people.
Yeah, I think when you plot it, yeah, this man planned it out. Listen, this is a good question. Free Mike Gaines. Do you feel that schools are encouraging more racism with the CRT? Well, I think if you don't understand, what I do think is that by passing laws and making people believe that CRT is the devil or the worst thing possible, I think that can. Nobody wants to really talk about what CRT is. Critical race theory. It's basically talking about the history of racism in the nation. It's no different than it's no different than talking about American history. It's no different than talking about the Spanish War, Spanish history, Civil War. It's no different. It talks about how racism started, why it continues. That's what it's about. And you have people that believe that when you do that, you're basically telling minority kids that whites are, throughout the years, all whites are bad and that all whites continue to be bad. That's not what it's about.
No, it's
not. It's not what it's about at all. So I think when the media portrays it as being a a way to tell children or put in schools that whites are evil and that whites are the reason for a lot of the problems and all blacks hate whites and things like that, then I think that does cause an incitement and an inflaming of emotions. But I don't believe teaching critical race theory alone is encouraging more racism. I think the way that it's being presented and the way that people talk about it, and people don't find out exactly what it really means, I think that's when it causes problems. It's just like, for a long, you have a lot of kids that really don't understand Black history. And so
we got Black kids who don't fully understand.
Black kids, right? And so, is it bad to have Black History Days? Is it bad to have MLK, Cesar Chavez, Juneteenth? Is that bad? And so, when you talk about the what CRT is, and you don't know what it is, and you add to it and you take from it, that does cause incitement. And then now put this on the platform when you have individuals who are that extreme supremacist person. This is another topic that inflames their mission. Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. I mean, I would ask the listeners to do some, just watch some things on QAnon, on the white supremacist groups, the conspiracy theories, the replacement theory. And I think if you watch this, it'll make the hair stand on the back of your neck, that there are platforms out there that are teaching hatred and making it seem as though if you look like what the norm doesn't look. Well, my question is, what does the norm look like? So if you don't look normal, you're a bad person. And there are platforms out there that does that. I mean, that is their main focus, to incite. And I'm a firm believer that Fox News is one of the channels that, because I'm thinking of TV right now. I can't think of another channel that is that extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point, it's the things that are said are just outright racially insensitive, gender insensitive. It's just crazy.
Well, Keith, it's not really media. It's not so much media news. It is personal views and personal opinions.
But that stuff sells. That's what the bad thing about it, though, Virgil. People talk about things that sell. I'm telling you, there are people in law enforcement that have the ability to have TVs in their office. They leave it on Fox News constantly.
Yeah.
8-hour shift. They're watching Fox News. You go in some briefing rooms, you watch Fox News. So what I told my guys in one of the departments that I worked in, nobody was going to watch news in briefing if it was going to just be that. We're going to find something that's moderate, or let's just do this. Let's put on local news.
Yeah.
But we're not going to sit there and put it on something that spews venom and causes tension inside the organization. And so I don't care if you're conservative or not. But when you don't see anything wrong with what happened in January 6th,
yeah.
When you put a but in, when you have a discussion regarding the 10 people who were killed in Buffalo, and any of the conversation that you have, if there's a but in there, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. Or when you say things like, "Oh, these liberals they want to take our guns." Man, where's that? Where was that in writing? I mean, I had an officer that said, we were talking about red flag laws, which red flag laws are basically where a gun can be taken, can be seized, temporarily seized, if an officer goes to a location and believes that someone there is going to commit a crime, or there might be some form of mental illness. They can take the gun. Then they have to have a hearing in order to get the guns back. It's not taking anybody's guns. It's a safety issue. I had a high-ranking officer that literally, I thought, wanted to box me about even talking about that because it's our constitutional right to carry weapons. What is this damn love with guns? I can't get people. Nobody can answer. All they can say is fun. It's my constitutional right. It's my constitutional right. Well, did the Constitution, the Second Amendment, did it give that coward the right to go in there and plot to kill those 10 innocent people? So should he be able to fall on the Second Amendment and say he had a right to carry that gun and carry out the act that he did? Does he have the right from the First Amendment to say I have the right to look? I have a right to look at. I have a right to listen and look at extreme hate groups and helps form my opinion on what I think about minorities, so I can go out and utilize and pair it up with the Second Amendment, so I can kill people who don't look like me, because I'm afraid that a person who doesn't look like me is trying to replace me.
Well, Keith, you made a comment a while ago.
You know what that is?
What?
That's a sense of superiority.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's a sense of superiority. That goes right there, man, with reverse discrimination.
Yeah.
Which means I've been discriminated. I'm the norm. I'm what's supposed to be. I'm what the world's supposed to be like. And I dare anybody who doesn't look like me to get an opportunity that should have been mine because I look the way that I do. Man, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of this stuff, man. This elitism, narcissism. I'm tired of it. And this nut, Virgil, don't think he did nothing wrong. Well, listen, I'm almost, and I don't mean to dominate, because normally I don't really hardly say anything on certain things. This has got me just wound up.
Oh yeah, it's got a lot of people.
He doesn't even have the courage or the decency to say I'm guilty. I'm not guilty.
Yeah.
How the hell do you plead not guilty when you have plotted, thought out this plan
over months,
plotted it over months, and you executed the plan, and you get up there before the judge and say you're not guilty?
Yeah. And the fact, Keith, that this was premeditated. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was premeditated because he was at the store the day before, actually talked to people that lived in that community, came back and pulled up to that store and started taking out the plan that he had put together. Keith, one of the things that you said before, and I'm going to, let me do this before I make this comment. I want to remind everybody that if you're just now tuning into the podcast show, you're listening to You and the Law podcast, and tonight's topic, we're talking about how the replacement theory is fueling domestic, how the replacement theory is fueling white domestic terrorism. We want to remind you that you can, if you miss any parts of this show, you can definitely go to Spotify, Anchor, many other podcast platforms to listen to the rebroadcast of this show. But Keith, you mentioned something earlier about, news stations like Fox News and QAnon. You've got a Black woman, this Candace Owens or whatever her name is. This woman has no empathy, no sympathy for the Black community, and has came out with something just the opposite of what took place in Buffalo. And so it is an insult to the Black community for a Black woman to stand up and to say the things that she says, and the fact that you had grandmothers, you had husbands and wives who lost their lives in a store. And one of the things, Keith, that comes to my mind as we talk about this One of the ladies that lost her life, she had just went and visited her husband in his
Nursing
assisted
home.
nursing home. She goes to the store to get whatever she was going to get to cook dinner or whatever, but she lost her life. And to have people minimize that is there's a problem with what has taken place and what continues, Keith.
Well, you know what, Virg? I'm gonna say this, man. That hey, this is what gets me, man. Candace Owens, Tim Scott.
I haven't heard anything from Tim Scott. Have you?
Man? Please, you talking about Bucky? Bucky from Fat Album? No, ain't nobody heard nothing from him. That's what he looked like, Bucky. Hey, what's the other girl was just running for the Senate?
Up in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, listen. I have friends. I have African minority friends that are Republicans, man. And I don't care what party you at. I'm a big proponent you vote.
Yeah.
But listen, man, you don't have to. Herschel Walker, listen.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. If you don't have to try to fit in, man. The sad thing about it, man, is that I think for the nation has lost its identity. And you have African Americans who feel that they have to say certain things and do certain things to be accepted. You have whites that feel the same way. You have Latinos that the same way. Very few, very minimal population of people. Be you. You are African American. Be proud of who you are. If you're an African American who's a Republican, then stand up for that and explain why, and be able to defend why you're. But then to go to that extreme right, just like anyone who goes to the extreme left, that's when because at that point I can't reason with you.
Yeah.
You're purposely trying to hurt somebody with your views. So making sense is completely out the window. Now let me tell you this. If we're trying to unify this country and the parties are trying to unify, do you not think that the right and the left should have come together after Columbine and said, we're gonna make it so tough and we're gonna enhance these gun laws that if you buy one legally and you commit this crime, okay, if you take one illegally and commit this crime, we're gonna get you.
Okay.
Everybody's too afraid to say. I don't know if it's afraid. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about this. Out of all the other amendments,
the Second Amendment.
Second Amendment seems to be one that people are willing to fall on the sword for.
Well,
willing to lose their soul for.
Yeah. Let me make this comment. We talk about the Second Amendment, but you have got states like Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, many other states who are putting restrictions on what women can and cannot do with their bodies. But you want to be able to tell a woman what she cannot do with her body, whether you agree with it or not. That is that woman's right of choice. But you can say, you at 18-year-old, you can go out, you can purchase a handgun, a weapon. You can make modifications to that weapon. You can go out here and kill 100, people. And then all of a sudden you can be taken alive and you can go to jail and you can go through the trial and you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. But the government wants to tell a woman, no, you can't go do this because we say you can't do it. But like you said, you're not putting any things in place to prevent these mass shootings from happening. Remember when we went to
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember when we went to DC and the Senate hearing that we attended, where I don't know if you remember,
Yeah. How can I forget?
So the families, some of the surviving families from Sandy Hook, they were sitting in the where we were sitting at. And so Lindsey Graham made this comment that I will never forget when he was talking to Chief Flynn from Milwaukee. I use my AR-15 to go out and hunt on my property. That's my right. I should be able to go and hunt on my property with an AR-15. Right in front of you, not even 20 feet, 5 feet, are families who lost their children in a school shooting. But you want to sit up here and talk about using an assault rifle to go out and hunt deer. And you have, this should not be a political deal between Republicans and Democrats or independents. When Sandy Hook happened, Columbine happened, every single time.
The Pulse nightclub.
The shooting at the church, the Las Vegas shooting,
the
Asian shooting in Atlanta.
The nails, the spa,
yeah. But guess what, Keith? Now all those things happen, but you know what? For some in the law enforcement community, they go back and they talk about, well, look what the guy did in Dallas when he killed all these police officers. Okay, it was a horrible event that should never happen where police officers
had that damn gun.
No. But all of a sudden you want to talk about that, but you don't want to talk about what took place at a church in South Carolina where the 18-year-old kid walks in and kills people that he sat down and talked with. But then what did the police do before they took him to the police department? They took him to McDonald's or Burger King and bought him a burger. Now, the incident that took place in Buffalo, Keith, so many families are wondering, how did this kid walk out alive after murdering 10 people, injuring 13? He puts a gun up to his neck, but the police officers did talk him down not to kill himself. People are questioning if that would have been a 18, 19-year-old black man, young man with a gun, would he have walked out of that store alive and been put in handcuffs? The image of him being handcuffed by police has really done something to that community that, yeah, they were able to take him alive. But there again, you've got people asking the what ifs. So, you know, how many more times we're going to have these conversations, many more times, because we continue to see mass shootings happen across the United States. And Keith, we're in a pandemic, and you got to ask yourself, do people sometimes just get tuned out of these conversations because it has happened so often?
I think we've become a nation that we become immune to violence. I think we expect violence. I've said this in the communities that I've worked, is that when you expect to have 25 to 30 homicides a year, that's a problem. What can we do to actively prevent those? So I think we've gotten to the point in the nation where we expect and we've accepted the fact that there's violence. We've accepted the fact that there's gun violence. We've accepted and expected the fact that there's white supremacy. We've accepted that, and it's basically what can we do about it? What can we do? I'm just little old me. What can I do? And so I think we have gotten to the point where we really believe there's nothing we can do. We believe that this stuff's going to happen. We just got to sit back and wait for it and hope it doesn't happen to one of our loved ones. That's the state of the nation right now. That is the state of what we are in right now, man. And that's the sad part about it. And so now what we've done is we've created this sense of, man, it'd be pretty of martyrisms. So man, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna kill up a whole bunch of people. People are gonna talk about me. That's why I refuse to say his name. that coward.
Yeah.
I refuse to say, well, 18-year-old coward. I refuse to say his name.
Yeah.
I am not going to give him the satisfaction or make it seem like any type of respect of any type of notoriety or any type of anything that would make him think, or listeners who think like him that think that somebody's glorifying what he does. That coward. That's what I'm calling him. That coward.
Yeah.
And so, and to the families that were affected, to all in the nation who were affected, I'm sorry that 18-year-old coward who's hiding behind the replacement theory and white supremacy as his reason for doing that. I'm sorry that we had to be as a nation. We have to talk about this has gotten to be so on a regular basis that these type of shows and these type of discussions are happening on a regular basis because people expect and accept violence to occur in this nation in 2022.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I've said. I know we're coming to the end, but it goes back to what I've said in the Kerner Commission report. That was the committee that was formed by Lyndon Johnson, who came at the end of the report, specifically said in 1967 said, at the heart of civil rights, who said, if we don't get things better in our nation, we're going to come down to a white and a black nation. This man said this 55 years ago.
And we're still having the same problems. Yeah.
So it's not that we haven't had the opportunity to get better. It's we expect and accept the fact that racism is rampant. That's just the way the world's gonna be. That's just the way people are. Well, yeah, man, there's a whole bunch of Klansmen that live over here, but we know that. So that's what we have gotten to in this nation. But I will tell you this: that's a coward, man.
Yeah. Well, it's beyond a coward. It's beyond a coward.
That's beyond a coward. He's a coward, man. And the people that buy into that stuff and listen to those platforms, they're cowards too.
Well, and Keith, I want to say this. We're coming up on the last few minutes of the show, and I want to play something that we're going to be talking about next Thursday on the podcast. But you got so many people who spend so much time on TikTok. They spend so much time on all these other social media platforms. But when it comes to talking about topics like this that have an impact on the Black and brown community, you don't see a lot of engagement with that. And I think people need to engage more and have more discussions. And that's why we have this platform to talk about these issues that happen in our communities every single day. But Keith, I want to play something here real quick before we have to end the show, because it's something that we're going to be talking about on our podcast next week. So let me see if I can bring this up briefly. And this is going to be what we're going to be talking about on the podcast next Thursday. Hold on just a second.
Of Delaware State University, which is a historically black college, is expressing outrage after a bus of his lacrosse players was stopped and searched in Georgia. It happened at the end of last month when sheriff's deputies pulled over the bus as it traveled back home from a game in Florida. Their bus was initially stopped for an alleged traffic violation, but it then turned into a search for drugs. Members of the lacrosse team say they were being racially profiled. Police got body cam video of
Keith? Now, I don't know if you've seen that video. I know I sent it to you, but I think this is going to be another topic. And you remember a couple of weeks ago, we talked about probable cause and reasonable suspicion. So I'm going to leave it right there, brother. It's been another great topic as we talked about how the replacement theory is fueling white domestic terrorism.
Well, I want to say, hey, Sam, thank you for the question. Now I'm moving to Tennessee and for a short period, and just going to enjoy some time. So I thank you for asking.
Yeah.
But it's the first time in 20 years, Sam, I haven't had to have two phones. So I'm excited about that. You know, phones not going off 2-3 o'clock in the morning. But but man, I you know, Virgil, I think that's what makes our show unique.
Yeah,
we don't hold back. So
exactly.
But,
exactly. Well, brother, you know, next week when we get together, you will be still the Chief Swag.
I'm gonna always be that, bro.
So man, it's been another great episode of the podcast, and so we want to say thank you for everybody who tuned in and listened to the show, and we will be back again next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live with You and the Law Podcast. Thank you and have a good evening.